Welcome back to the naked Olimoleague. Where the UI go? Just kidding. Hey guys, sorry, I'm already being a bit of a dick. Spawning here in the northern location on Candelena, we have the Terran from Invasion. Is East? Oh man, I always get this wrong. It's gaming. It's Inf Gaming, I think, right? No, you know what? I'm gonna Google this. I always guess on a cast, and I'm always wrong. So, Gumiho SC2. And he's currently on Invasion Esports. Son of a bitch! Okay, hello, welcome back. It's the Olimoleague. Hang on, there we go. Game's just starting. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Olimoleague. Spawning here at the northern location. It's gonna be Invasion Esports. Red. I'm done. Red Terran Gumiho. With his opponent in the bottom right, of course, is gonna be Dead Pixel's purple Zerg player True, who is looking better than ever lately. I don't know how he's gonna fare against Gumiho, because Gumiho we expect to play mech. Gumiho has been the meching master for as long as we've seen him in StarCraft. Or no, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. But as long as we've seen him in recent days of StarCraft 2. And I'm talking like 6 months recent days. He's just been a badass with mech. But in the last couple of weeks we've seen the Olimoleague. We've actually seen him playing Bio. Now, I'm really wondering if this is on account of the fact that he just feels mech isn't working anymore, if maybe Bio is something he wants to practice more, or maybe he's mind gaming. I don't know, but I think if I had to point a finger, I would imagine the culprit is actually the new maps, forcing him to change his playstyle. All of the new maps for the current season of WCS are just awful for securing a 4th base, much less even a 3rd. And because of this, it's a little bit harder to play that mech style out, unless you're going to play really aggressive with mech. So I'm talking like, you know, that 150 supply push with Thors and Hellbats and wonderful Ravens and whatnot. Not getting to 200 Death Ball slow push goodie style. So I don't know which style we're going to see out of Gumiho today, but I always love seeing mech. It's where my heart is, and I'm hoping it's mech, but I definitely wouldn't be sad if it was Bio. On the other side of the coin, though, True has been doing a lot of really cool stuff lately. I don't know if it's because of his time he spent in the Axiom House or whatever, but him and Impact have been absolutely knocking it out of the park with these 2-base Mutalisk builds. And definitely on Catalina, that's something I can see happening. It's a really good map for Mutalisk, just the open space, the way to get around, the distance that Gumiho would have to travel from the main to the 3rd to the other 3rd just to be able to defend, you know, walk that Thor over. See you in a couple years. But started off, the Reaper almost gets a kill. Wanted to dive for it. That would have been a mistake, losing this early. Someone in chat asking, is Marine King playing soon? I actually don't believe Marine King is signed up this week. He does play, it feels like every other week, because he does end up in the monthly finals from time to time, but yeah, it's whoever's on the brackets what you guys get to see. And I gotta be honest with you, while I am Mr. Terran hype and all that, and I love seeing some of my Axiom players like Impact, I definitely, my favorites like Impact, I should say more accurately, it's Total Biscuits player. I definitely like seeing good Protoss play, and Choya has been super cheesy and super fun. But also on the other end of that spectrum, we got Parting playing today. If you guys haven't seen the brackets, I definitely recommend checking them out. We're going to get into whoever we can, wherever we can, but True versus Gumiho early on was too sick to pass up. And I'm sorry, guys. So for the Protoss fans in the audience, don't worry. There are some absolutely talented Protoss players playing today that will pretty much guaranteed at least make quarterfinals, so I will try to spread the love as much as I can. But a 3 Reaper opening out of Gumiho. 3rd Command Center quickly to follow this up. A lot of the times a fast 3rd CC like this can be dangerous. Ooh, that's gonna suck. Nice surrounded at True, though. The problem is, though, this is Catalina, and the idea, I think, was for his Reapers to be causing so much pressure that these Lings never come across the map to scout. That these Lings never cause pressure or scout the 3rd CC, and quite frankly, Gumiho's supposed to get away with this. Instead, you know, actually, True doesn't have any Overlords on this side of the map. I just realized. He's not gonna get in here and scout this. This is actually going to work out quite well for Gumiho, because normally when you go for a fast 3rd CC like this, you're asking for trouble. You're saying, hey bro, come hit me with an all-in, or alternatively, play more greedy than I am currently playing greedy. And for True's sake, he's going to be playing, I think, pretty normal. We do have that again, the layer coming up pretty quick. We'll probably see these gases taken very soon, and that 2-base Mutalisk build I had referenced before. But this is a situation where, while 2-base Mutalisk I don't think will be too bad, I think a 3rd base and getting away with it might be a little bit better. we'll see how this plays out. Hellions are out and going to be poking. It's really interesting to see this Raven first. Actually, it's really interesting to see this Raven first because of many reasons. But I guess more than anything else, it will let him clean up the creep tumors without scanning. I'm saying there's a big question mark above my head because this isn't so typical. The reason for this is if you open with a Raven like this, let's say True is going 2 base mutas. You know, this is it's a very expensive unit to invest in this early. 200 gas is nothing to play around with, and if this goes down, that's gonna hurt. So see what he gets away with. A couple of auto turrets could be kind of neat. I really don't foresee a lot of secret missile usage in the early game, but a point defense drone might also help him guard against queen damage. Hellions are surprisingly fragile, and oftentimes you take about, I don't know, a whole Hellion's health worth in damage just running by 3 queens, but a point defense drone would soak up all that damage. It would nullify it. So I don't know what Gumiho's thinking, guys, but I really want to see it. He is following this up with a double armory. This is really key. That's 2 armories, not 1, by the way. If you go for 1 armory, you're probably still playing mech, and you're probably doing things like Hellbats and weapon damage and all that. But if you go 2 armories, to me, this really tells me that Gumiho is looking towards air tech at some point in this game, whether it's early or not. Because that vehicle plating, honestly, does benefit the mech on the ground, 100%. Hellions, tanks, Thors, wonderful, wonderful. But for the most part, it lets the Vikings fight in the sky better. It lets the battle cruisers become untouchable. And truth be told, guys, right now, the biggest thing I think we should be worrying about is the fact that Gumiho, he doesn't know about this 2-base muta build. He might have an idea this is coming, but the engineering base only just started. There are no missile turrets, there is no Thor, there's no Widow Mines, there's barely any Vikings. So the idea with these Hellions has got to be keep the Mutalisks at home defending True's base, because if those Mutalisks come across the map, it's borderline GG worthy, because there's just nothing Gumiho's going to be able to do. So hoping to buy as much time as possible, go for this run by. If he dives in, there's nothing protecting that by these mutas. He might just score some kills, but at the same time, just trying to distract True might not be a bad alternative. Now, the CC, unfortunately, had some creep blocking it, so it's still awkwardly floating in the air. The Raven with a Seeker Missile, you know, I said I didn't foresee a lot of Seeker Missile usage. This would be a situation where I think a Seeker Missile would be fantastic if he can land on the Mutalisks. But oftentimes, the Mutas are pretty darn quick and get on top of this fairly soon. Now, Missile Turrets do barely come up in time in the mineral line. A Thor is on the way, but oh dear. Meanwhile, it looks like the Reapers went in for a bit of an attack. The Viking cleaning up some of the Overlords around the map. I mean, it's going to die, but it's got about 3 kills for its value, so not too bad. Reaper runs past the Queen, actually. Goes for a drone kill, doesn't quite get it. Meanwhile, trying to defend this third. It's getting kind of awkward for Gumiho, but he's playing mech, and this is sadly the story of mech in the early game. And what I kind of like, I can't stress this enough unless you've played mech. There are big holes in your early game defense. Things like Mutalisks can really catch you off guard. To reference one of my favorite horrible instances of this, Acer Bly, as some of you may know from the European scene, I witnessed him kill 3 Thors with 10 Mutalisks because they kept popping out one at a time. They just magic box on top of them. There was no Viking support. There was no turret support. So Mutalisks can be so good versus a mech player in the early game. But as we've all seen, the longer the game goes, I think the better it gets for most mech players. The strength of having 4 bases, the consolidation of this unquote-unquote killable army, it's so hard to deal with. And we see tiers all over the place from every region of the world. Even Solar, who's probably got to be the calmest, the coolest Zerg play I've ever seen, complained about, I believe it was Gumiho's mech, not Yoda. He beat Yoda's mech, but he complained about Gumiho's mech in one of these cups. So it, again, can just, even the best of us can feel the pressure of this style. But I really like what True's doing behind this. So we're focusing a lot on Gumiho, and that's the Terran bias coming out, but True's done a lot of really great things behind this. The number one thing is he went to 5 bases really quick. I've definitely talked about this with many of my co-casters before, and I think we've all pretty much unanimously agreed a good way to deal with mech is to take all the bases as soon as possible. Yes, some of them are going to be vulnerable, and most of them are going to be used for gas mining at most, but still just having those bases available. True always makes me think back to King Sejong Station. True would do this really annoying thing where a mech player would push into one base and he'd just expand to the other. And by the time the mech player walked all the way around the map to the other base, he'd just re-expand to where the previous base had died. And he'd just keep repeating this over and over and over, and somehow it still ended up being cost effective for him. So again, taking lots of bases early, I like this move. The Roaches are kind of interesting. They work well versus Thors, obviously not so much against tanks. He's actually invested in not swarm hosts, but infestors, something we've been, I think Hyun kind of made popular with his Nitoswarm shenanigans, but they're not bad generally speaking. Infested Terrans are good at focusing, causing a lot of friendly fire from the tanks. Fungal growth on top of SCVs, on top of Vikings can be just critical to taking in air fights. The Infestors, I think, are definitely integral of the late game tech, but right now, for True, I don't know he's really looking for a fight. He's just bulking up his army because he wants to be able to fight. And lucky for him, it's a lot of cheap units, so replacing these won't be too difficult should they die. But at the same time, I really don't know if Gumiho is planning to push with more than these Hellions. Might do some run-bys, might do some harass, but I mean, for him, again, that double armory to me screams get 4 bases, throw down 3 extra starports, get battle cruisers, and just, I don't know, squeeze all the tears out of True that he can. Blue Flame being invested in is kind of interesting to see. We actually see this foregone, or not foregone in English here. A lot of Terran players forego it. There we go. Because sadly, the Blue Flame only benefits versus light units, not versus the armored roaches, not versus armored infestors. So realistically, it's only good versus lings and drones. And most of the time, yeah, things like banelings will be out. And roaches, and it's just not going to work that magic. But I'd say the investment's definitely worth it. If you get those run-bys, sometimes it's exactly what you need. Interesting to see True actually go for his combination Vipers and Ultralisks. So Blinding Cloud's definitely going to be on his mind. But, oh man, definitely been seeing this fad lately. And I'll say fad, this trend of unsieged tanks. But the Blue Flame Hellbats drop on top of the Infestors. And even though they don't deal the bonus damage, they do box them in. There's no retreating out of this. He has to drop the Infested Terrans. There's nothing else he could do. And True loses his entire army on the right side of the map. But he does kill 28 SCVs on the other side. Banelings roll into that middle line. Roaches force the lift off. He loses one of his precious gas geysers, but he keeps the CC alive. Problem for True, though. He lost a lot of army supply on the right. Gumiho knows there's a significant amount in the north, and he's deciding to push with this. These are Vikings on the ground too, by the way. You know, hot cinematic, anybody? There you go, lifts it back up. But there's Ultras, and I can't say Ultras will necessarily be the easy peasy solution to this. A couple of auto turrets definitely help screw with the A-move situation the Ultras tend to be caught in. Secret missiles aren't too bad. Their spells not really attack damage, but again, there's so many Hellbats to buffer for this army. I feel like the tanks are going to be too much. Now this one tank over here is sadly not going to kill all 3 spines, but it will get some good damage done. Hellbats preloaded into the Medivacs once again, go for that drag drop move. Nice choice out of True to pick off the reinforcements, but the Vikings are shredding the Overlords. They didn't even realize while this was going on. And right now True's harshly supply blocked. So Gumiho's going to lose a lot of very valuable units here on this side of the map. He picks up a little bit of what he can, but True can't really invest in much else. There's a couple more Ultras coming, sure, but so many Overlords just died. 11 for free almost. Could be more than that too. But can Gumiho hold? Not a lot of tanks at home. The depots are down. That third base is going to get forced to lift off once again. Trying to trade this out a bit awkwardly. We do have one Ling chipping away at these tanks. Can the Vikings save it? Vikings, please! The tanks are actually going to die to a couple of Lings. An auto turret almost wall off. That's kind of funny to see. But Gumiho actually loses his 4th base. It was a planetary, so no liftoff possible. Lots of SCVs dying. But can he trade out for the Hive? And more importantly, will it be worth it? He actually picks up the Vikings. He's going to try and save the tanks. Doesn't save any tanks. And now Gumiho is really up shit creek with no paddle. He's got no 4th base. His 3rd base is barely mining. His SCV count has been shredded through this. And while he does have an extra orbital, it's, well, actually a couple extra orbitals, pardon me. It's still not going to make up for the fact that he needs gas more than anything else. We got the upgrades looking phenomenal for Gumiho, but what good is upgrades? What good are upgrades if you got no units to benefit from them? Meanwhile, those Vikings, how many Overlords did they manage to kill with this one on? He brought that number up to 14. That's not too bad. He's just got eyes on the army because of this. Floating scouting barracks. It's unorthodox to see, but it will find out about the extra base down here in the bottom left. Gumiho's got to find a way to secure another base. Not necessarily the 4th. I mean, his 3rd still isn't even secure. His supply count is in the gutter. Dealing with the Ultralisks is going to be stressful, to say the least. The Hellion run-bys can be quite nice if they can manage to sneak by, but oop, surprise, it's Ultralisks. I like this tank drop. Kind of a cool move to see. I don't know that the siege up was necessary, but we'll obliterate the spine crawler. Hashtag burst damage, but the problem is there's no pickup out of this. Terrans can't wait for Legacy of the Void, right? But despite getting the hatchery, is it going to be worth losing 4 or 5 siege tanks? He'll get what looks like 3 out of there alive. Not too bad. But this is some really serious, very needed counterattack damage. I like the extra spines coming back down. You know, Gumiho did clear a couple of these up with his earlier push, but replacing these stops the blue flame Hellions from dipping in and getting free damage. The only thing I can really think of at this point is once he gets that tank line up, you know, Vipers are going to be very scary once more, and Gumiho hasn't really dipped into more Viking production, and that's good, because right now he can't afford it. But once he gets his supply count back up, once he gets that economy rolling again, I mean, spreading out your siege tanks is one way to deal with Viper blinding clouds, but truth be told, it's not the best. You'd rather be able to just pick off those Vipers and stop them from even attacking in the first place. But Infestors coming down once again. We got the air upgrades being invested into, so we might see a Mutalisk swap at some point. Gumiho, this isn't really for the Mutals, I feel, but he is going to invest into Thors. Thors do a lot of damage. They're pretty good versus Ultralisks when a mano-a-mano type situation, especially because they are fully upgraded. I mean, Thor's hammer, guys, this 39 times 2 every time they attack. Even Ultralisks are going to struggle to take those hits. Combined with the tank fire, a couple of Hellbats. I think one of the biggest things right now would be, well, that's some nice creep shredder, true. One of the biggest things for Gumiho at this point would definitely be to get something to kind of layer into his army. Hellbats will get a little bit done on the front lines, but again, more Seeker Missiles or something on the front lines just to, or not Seeker Missiles, Auto-Tris to screw with the AI of the Ultras. This choke not going to work out so well for the Ultras, though. They are funneling into death. Ooh! That fight actually goes surprisingly well for Gumiho. That was not just an okay engagement, it was pretty damn good because he picked off those Vipers really quick. True got about 2 Blinding Clouds, I think, off, but those, as we saw, did not last very, very long. Meanwhile, the counterattack is going to pursue, and let's see if he can pick off the last couple of Vipers. He does have the Vikings on the ground, but the Thors and the tanks, there's no Ultras to stop them. However, 8 more are on the way, and we'll see if this base goes down before they pop. The problem is, again, chokes are not going to work out here for True in the slightest. I like the Baneling investment at this point in the game. It's a good way to chew through those Hellbats. Whether you got supply depots or barracks or Hellbats, you just need things to block out the Ultras so the tanks can deal their damage, so the Thors can get their shots in. But Blinding Cloud's going down and the Fungal Growth locks most of the army in place. Backing away from this, he loses almost all the Hellbats instantaneously, but he's got enough tank fire to pick off the Ultras. The army supply is surprisingly even, and both players, I would say, have equivalently useless supply. It was about 3 or 4 Ultras, which is really nice compared to the 3 or 4 tanks, but the Vikings in the air are doing nothing. The Medivacs are not contributing to this fight. Well, they do actually save some of the Thors, so I'll take that back, extending the life of these units just a little bit further. An auto turret comes down to try and distract some of these shots, and of course these tanks are just doing great damage. Unsieged, no less. I always forget just how much damage these bad boys have, because you rarely see them unsieged. But picking up the Vikings, dropping the Vikings, the micro out of Gumiho, and that fight was fantastic. Now, he should and could probably pull back from this, reconsolidate his forces, get some repairs out, make sure he's not fighting it with an army. You know, this Thor has, what, 14 health? That's not going to last very long. But I think most importantly behind all of this, 2 big things happen for both players. One, True actually has expansion staff. Ooh, nice attempt at a Ling Run by these things. We're not going to cut it, though. Hellions, please. I was going to spam repair the SCVs. Nice, nice, nice. But the heavy armor on the tanks, the Lings are going to struggle to get that damage in. But anyway, pardon me. Gumiho did take a 4th. Very important. But True also continued to expand. Despite losing bases, True is a cockroach. You can never fully kill this guy. You kill one base? No, it's a Hydra is what it is. You cut off one head, he puts 2 more bases down. And for Gumiho's sake, I think this is a bit frustrating for him. He has been forced into this ground composition, which I definitely wouldn't say is bad by any means. It's winning him fights, good control as well, but he's not been able to get to that air transition. He's not able to get to that, oh my god, I'm so overpowered, I'm Terran, LOLOL, Raven count, battle cruisers no less. But he is doing a lot of harass. Looks like those Hellions in the south did get cleaned up and got about 8 drone kills for it, pardon me. Repairing the army up here on the front lines is really nice to see. The Thor especially, but mostly the tanks getting cleaned up or repaired up. I think it was probably one of the bigger deals here. But this game is probably not going to be over just yet. I mean, we could have another big engagement come down, but at this stage of the game, normally we see the Zerg player not only maxed out, poised, and waiting for the Terran player to come crash their army into his, but they have a bank. You know, 4k minerals, 4k gas. True's kind of got an okay bank, but it's relatively small, and you're certainly not remaxing on Ultralisks or Broodlords off of 1,000 minerals and was barely 2,000 gas. Oh, these Lings have been so annoying. These Lings have been so annoying, but so good for True. The creep spread consistent behind this as well. Gumiho has been cleaning it up with most of these pushes, and True's been replacing it afterwards. But we do have another big push coming, and this time, this might work out pretty well. The Mutalisk swap, I think, is definitely going to catch Gumiho a little bit off guard. His Thor count is not that heavy, and he doesn't have a bunch of Ravens for point defense drones or Seeker missiles, but I think the Vikings and this one Thor should buy time? Question mark? We don't have those blinding clouds to be so deadly this time. The fungal growth's holding the army in place. It's not like Stim Bio, though. You're not stutter stepping away with mech. No, you're taking the fight at face value. You're wrecking the Ultralisk with your tanks. Pick up Micro again out of Gumiho, looking pretty damn impressive. And with 3 Thors joining these front lines, it's going to be incredibly difficult for those Mutalisks to catch this army off guard. Again, the Vikings could lift in the air. They're not exactly a hard counter to Mutalisk, but those Thors certainly are, especially if clumped up. But Gumiho's splitting his forces. Gumiho's getting a little bit greedy, and he's splitting his forces. So the Mutalisks are going to pick off 4 Vikings to start this for free. Thors are out of position to guard these tanks. The hit and run, going to focus on top of the hatchery. Should be able to kill this. Thor's on this side, though. This is the only army that I think is going to get out of this alive. Because once again, here on the left, he's going to get shredded. That's a lot of tanks. That's a lot of gas. And while True didn't really have a big bank, neither does Gumiho. But Gumiho's pushing on multiple fronts, and he knocks down what looks to be about 3 hatcheries, 4 hatcheries possibly simultaneously. Oh, the Thors get actually... Oh, they get completely destroyed. I don't know if those were A-moved or just abandoned or what, but Magic Boxes splits his Mutalisks on top of them, takes no splash damage. Can Gumiho do enough damage to make this worthwhile? I don't think Gumiho's ever scouted that easternmost base, by the way. No. Oh. So he doesn't know that True's actually got full mineral saturation there on the right side. He doesn't know, but he's going to have a feeling soon, because he's got to be like, hey, man, I just killed all of your bases. Like, not 1 or 2, but I killed all of your bases. Where are you getting money from? Both players are in a pretty bad economy situation, but I think Gumiho looks better. He's got the power of mules. He's now scouting for that extra base. This was a ballsy one for True to take, but this is like the one base this game that hasn't died, except the main. Maybe? Yeah, that one did live, that's right. So every other base has died and been replaced and died and been retaken and sneaked out, but this one has been consistent and good for him and mining off of it pretty happily. But now we got to find a way to deal with the Mutalisk, and missile turrets aren't going to cut it. A couple of Thors will help a bit, but I think Vikings are really going to be what clinches this out, unless, oh, True clumps the Mutas! Gotta be so careful with that. Thors are good when the Mutas are clumped, but their attack speed is so incredibly slow that when you split up the Mutalisks, they're not so bad. Vikings sadly gonna get picked off pretty quickly. Can't even repair the turrets in time. Ooh, getting a little bit scary for Gumiho on his only mining base. Again, both players are in a pretty crappy situation for money, but Gumiho's got the power mules. Even if he loses these SCVs, he should be okay. In fact, he's got so many workers over his opponent. I still would not rate Gumiho in a bad spot at all. Thor's giving chase. I like the pickup of the medevacs too to boost these around. Thor's very immobile, very slow, hard to quite catch the fast Mutalisks, but 3 orbitals in the air. Guys, this is not a traffic jam. Land yourselves, drop those mules. There's a lot of energy on all 3 orbitals. That's a lot of mules that could possibly come down. The problem is Gumiho's production is not really covered. He definitely has to defend this. It's the 3 Thors over here. Oh, can he get the shots that he needs? Quick splits out of True, minimizes the damage. Let's not forget there's a big turret farm over here towards the 3rd, but most of them have been taken out. Looks like the additional bases have been revealed, and True's struggling to get mining back up. Although these shots from the Thors are looking pretty darn good. Splits the Mutas once again, and True doesn't have a lot of Mutas to work with. You know, he might dive in for the medevacs. Oh, he's going to catch the medevacs in the air. 3 Thors going to go down with these medevacs. He gets one of them unloaded, but 1 Thor's not going to be enough to hold this. Meanwhile, constantly running around the map with Lings too. He's going to catch a lot of Gumiho's SCVs. This is pretty nasty for Gumiho. But at the same time, Gumiho's cleaning up these extra bases. Still, though, has not found that one. But the Mutalisks not being paid attention to. He's going to lose every single Mutalisk. This was his ticket back into the game. Now with no money and only a couple of Lings, there's no way he stands up to Hellions and Hellbats. Scanning everywhere, wondering, where is that base? True, how are you getting money? And still, he's not found the one most important base on the map. There is nothing more critical to True than this base right here. It's the only thing keeping him in this game. But Spine Crawlers, Lings actually work not too bad against the Thors, but Spine Crawlers are not going to stop this. Eventually, Gumiho's going to win this with money, I think. As silly as that sounds to say, and such a low supply count for a surprisingly close game. Gumiho never got to that air attack, and Gumiho never got to do that battlecruiser push that we've known him to beat players like Rogue and Life with. But he does take out Shrew in this first game. And lucky for us as the viewers, this is a best of 3. If you're unfamiliar with the format of the Olimoleague, by the way, it's loser's pick. So if somehow True can turn this around, Gumiho will pick the map, or if Gumiho wins this, True will pick the map. I kind of feel like it's almost when Gumiho wins this, though, guys. If we're going to be completely honest, that supply count. Ugh. But yeah, so it's a smaller map pool. It does not use all 7 maps from the new map pool. The Olimoleague has its, I think it cuts out what does it cut out? It cuts out Inferno pools, and I think, I can't remember which other one, to be honest, off the top of my head, but, yeah, there's game. GG! Oh, it has Inferno pools. Sorry, it's Expedition Lost, Catalina, Overgrowth, Deadwing, and Inferno pools. That's what